Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about the Intex Seahawk 4 inflatable raft and some modifications you can do to this. I used it for a couple of years and it's not a bad little craft. There are some drawbacks to it. One, it does take a while to set up. Especially if you're going to put the trolling motor brackets on it, things like that. Batteries, it's going to take you a little bit to get on the water. It's not a kayak or a bass boat. You have to stop, you have to inflate it. When you get done, it has no keel. So directionally, trying to steer this thing, it's like trying to steer a boat, right? Is the saying. But it doesn't steer real well. It gets blown around in the wind pretty bad, especially with all this weight in the back. For a river system, it actually works fairly good. That's where I mainly used it for a couple of years until I bought a kayak. So anyway, we're going to go through the setup I did on this to have this nice seat in here, and it's comfortable. It's got a hard deck in the bottom. Now the advantage of this is a price point. Getting into this, the raft itself is pretty inexpensive. I don't know what they are now. I've had this about 6-7 years. And the accessories are just some plywood, some carpet and paint if you want it, seat mounts, and a seat. Trolling motor is optional. Be real honest with you, if you're not on big body water, kayak paddle actually works fairly well. But again, it's not a kayak. You're going from this side and then you're leaning over here. So you're in constant motion back and forth, and it does get tiring. So I was a younger man back when I used this. So anyway, I probably wouldn't use it too much now. Absolutely love my kayak now. But if you're not comfortable with a kayak, or if you have a small child you want to take with you, these are great for 2 people. Kayak is also, but it's a little more limiting with 2 people. So anyway, I'll tell you what, guys, let's go over it, and I'll show you the modifications I did to this Seahawk 4. Okay, first things first, guys, an air pump. Now this is the one that comes with it, and it will take you a very long time to air this thing up with just this. So I'd suggest getting an electric air pump. And I use a 12-volt pump. That way, if I'm at my car, I can go ahead and get it blowed up. Or if I'm using a trolling motor, I've always got a battery with me anyway. So it works out just fine. Now this is good to carry with you, okay? Because you don't know, you get out there, something may deflate on you a little bit, temperatures may drop. And believe it or not, if you're out all day and the temperatures drop, you'll lose pressure in the raft. So you might want to keep this with you. All right, so the way I start out, I go ahead and you fill up the floor with air first. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this tab up so it's ready to go, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my hard floor in. Now I made this floor out of 1/2-inch plywood, and I put this carpeting on it just for footing, basically. I didn't use marine plywood, so if you're going to use this a lot, you may want to use some kind of marine plywood. I did paint it. And when I made this, what I did, I took some large pieces of cardboard and I set it up in there and just kind of kept cutting it till I got the right contour that I wanted. I put hinges on it because one of the advantages to this is you can fit it in the trunk of a car. So, you don't have to have a pickup truck to haul it around. All right, so let's go ahead and put it in. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and select the right adapter. Start filling it up. Alright, and once we have the floor filled up, we'll take and put our adapter for the larger hole, and we'll fill the inner portion up. This portion in here. So these actually have kind of a dual valve, and you can fill it up with the hole plug out at first, and then top it off. Alright, now we'll go ahead and fill the main section. Alright, so once you have it inflated, and you have your hard floor in, now remember, when you cut your hard floor, you want to make sure you leave some space around the inner side, because this inner part, it'll come way out, so it's not going to fall out on you. You can leave it, at least 3/4 of an inch, all the way around from where it slides up in there. So when you're fitting your cardboard in, slide it out all the way up in there, and then cut it about 3/4 shorter than that, all the way around. And I did cut a hole in the bottom where I could inflate it. So the next thing I did is I built a seat, and I put wheels on it, and you can put it up underneath there, and I got a couple of ropes that I hook onto to the front up here when it's underneath, to keep it under the raft. It works, not real good, but it does work. At this time, you would go ahead and put your battery in. I had to notch this out with this pole holder back here. Then what I did, I put the carabiners on here so I could hook those in and secure the seat. So we have our trolling motor bracket ready to go on. Now the first few times you do this, it's going to be pretty tight, or like today, as you can see from the raft, it's cold, so it'll probably go in a little hard. Dishwashing soap. Put a little bit in those holes that these slide into. It really helps. Alright, so after you get these on, I drilled a couple of holes and just have a couple of clips I put in. Alright, now in the seat, and you don't have to inset it like I did, but I put a well, it would be a stem seat, I guess, inside there, so I could put a seat in here. This is one out of my bass boat. I have a different one, but I had to steal the pedestal off of it. And you can put that on there like that. And there you go. And of course you got your tiller steer back here. And it actually works okay, but it comes with a really cheesy paddle. If you don't have a trolling motor, there's nothing wrong with that, but get a kayak paddle. Those oars that come with it, forget that noise, guys. Forget it. Get a kayak paddle. I used this on the river fly fishing for a couple of years on the Guadalupe. It's a real slow moving river. And I paddled upstream a couple of years in a row. Of course, I was a little younger man at that time, but it can be done. You do end up getting out and pulling it a lot, but it does the job. So anyway, it comes with a couple of inflatable seats. So if you have somebody with you, you can inflate, these seats and stick them in there. Plenty of floor area. Now, this isn't a bass buggy. So the biggest problem, the biggest drawback to this setup right here, look how high that front end sits up. Now all your weight's back here. You got a battery under the seat, you got a trolling motor, you got you back here. When you get in the wind, it is very hard to control. Matter of fact, me and my son-in-law went out in this right after I first got it built. I didn't have this seat in, I just had like a roller seat in here, trying to figure out where I wanted to sit. And we got pinned on the other side of a little pond we were on. We could not get back. I couldn't keep that front end sideways in the wind. So we ended up having to wait for the wind to die down a little bit and made a dash for it. Luckily it was a pretty small body of water, but that is one big disadvantage to this. So anyway, if you know somebody who's trying to get into fishing, low budget, you know, you don't have to have the hard floor, you don't have to have the seat, you don't have to have the trolling motor. This is something you can go to a pond or some public water and you can get away from other people. So that's a big deal there. Like I said, when I was on the river, you know, all I did, I put the seat on here and I just use this. And it works pretty good. It really does. Ropes on the side if you want to drop an anchor. Don't forget, you got to wear a PFD, you got to wear a life preserver. When I'm in a small craft like this or a kayak, I do not use an inflatable. I use a regular PFD. Just because if something happens with a larger boat and you get knocked unconscious, I don't want to be dependent on that CO2 cylinder activating and inflating to save my life. And guys, it does happen. I would suggest a flag, putting a flag on it, because really this is just a little bit of an overgrown kayak. That's all it really is. Okay? The other thing, if you're going to put a motor on it, look up front there. You're going to have to register it. Yeah. In the state of Texas anyway. The boat, the craft, if it's under propulsion, it's got to be registered. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe. Let's get out on the water and have a great day.